everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Pastor Kisia Coleman, and I'm so excited to be back with you once again for our book publishing empowerment series. And we have another live interview tonight with an awesome author, and I'm so elated to finally be able to interview this woman of God on tonight. It's been a while, but you know how it is with busy people and busy schedules. It's hard to kind of bring something together, but I know that it's going to be well worth our time on tonight. And because it's taken so long for us to try to come together, I know God has some great things in store for us. So listen, this is what I need you to do. As you're getting on tonight, I need for you to share. Go ahead and begin to invite your followers. Invite 30, 40, 50, as many as you can. Invite them to this live Facebook. We want to have some awesome interaction on tonight. And we want to be available to answer your pertinent questions. We're going to be talking about marriage and the family. We're going to be talking about book publishing. And we're going to talk about what you want to talk about as it relates to these subjects. So make sure you give us your questions. You get those questions ready so we can answer them at the end. So now, this is what we're going to do today. I want to go ahead and begin to bring on our awesome guest on tonight. We're going to introduce her a little bit. We got some information as it relates to how you can find out more about her and her book and her ministry. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is going to enrich your soul, and it's really going to be a blessing to you. So let's go ahead and bring her on. We want to welcome Dr. LaTisha Glass, who is broadcasting tonight out of Battle Creek, Michigan. And we're so glad to have you on with us tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and what a blessing to finally be able to connect with you. And I'm so excited for our conversation on tonight.
Yes. We've been waiting for this, and I'm glad we were finally able to get you on our schedule. You're such an amazingly busy woman, but the wonderful thing is you're very productive in what you're doing. And so we thank God for you being able to be on tonight. So Dr. LaTisha, let's go ahead and get right into it. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, a little background information there so our audience can know.
Well, my name is Dr. LaTisha Glass. I am originally from Detroit, Michigan, but I currently reside in Battle Creek, Michigan. I am a dentist, and I practice alongside with my husband, Dr. Michael Glass. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I'm also a new author, and I'm just excited to be here tonight. I'm excited to just be in your presence and to speak with you and to just share my story on tonight.
Wonderful. So let's go ahead. Tell me a little bit about your book. I'm so glad that you were able to come to us and we were able to offer you our publishing services. And I just appreciate that, first of all. But you wrote a phenomenal book. So go ahead, give us the title of the book. Let us know the reason why you wrote it. And tell us about what's going on with it at this time.
Well, the title of the book is Praise, A Woman's Guide to Finding Fulfillment in Marriage, Family, and Career. And basically, the book is about finding your peace. It's about finding your strength and your voice. And it's about discovering a new perspective on life and the challenges that life can throw at you.
Oh boy, do we have challenges, especially as women. So now, this is what I think is so fascinating about you, Dr. LaTisha. You are a career woman, a mother. You are intimately involved in a very vibrant ministry there, as you are, I believe, a servant leader or one of the leaders in your church. And you also have this phenomenal practice with your husband, and yet you were able to write this book. So how in the world does someone who have all those things going on, how are you able to even bring all that together and make this happen?
Well, it definitely was not an overnight process. It's something that I did over a period of time. And, initially when I decided to go ahead and write the book, I really did not intend to write a book. I initially started just as me journaling my thoughts and my feelings. And, I genuinely said one day, I should write a book. And, my husband encouraged me to move on and move forward with that process. And, it took me a number of years. It took me about 5 years to complete the book. It wasn't something that I worked on day in and day in and night, but I kind of wrote things in spurts as things came along. I just kind of journaled my thoughts and just kind of the experiences that I was experiencing at that time as being a new wife, a new mom, and the things I was dealing with as far as juggling the three: marriage, family, and career.
You know, that is something that I think a lot of women can relate to in ministry, in their professional lives, this whole juggle thing. Tell us now, what is the name of your book and how did you come up with that title?
Well, interesting question. The name of the book is Praise, but initially that was not the title that I had chosen. You know, Praise is an acronym. So I initially was going to go with a different title. And at that time, my title was pretty much reflecting how I felt at that time, the things that I was dealing with, talking more about the struggle that I felt like I was dealing with as, like I said, being a new mother, a wife, and trying to manage my career at the same time. But there was a time right towards the end of me actually completing my book that God just told me that this should be a book that encourages someone. And so I had to pick a title which was encouraging. And so that's how I came up with the title Praise.
Wow. And tell me now, what does the acronym stand for? If you don't mind, just kind of walk us through that a little bit, because it's a wonderful acronym, so beneficial, and it's something I believe a lot of people can relate to. And you can just really, if you learn the acronym, you can kind of think about that acronym and it kind of help you through your day-to-day situations that you might be dealing with.
Right. So again, the title is Praise, and what Praise stands for is push, release, acknowledge, ignite, surrender, and elevate.
Wow, wow, wow. And so those are all things that I believe you ended up having to do as a result of your story. So now, just a little bit more background. Tell us about your boys, because you have 3 young boys, school-age boys. Tell me their ages and kind of walk us through some of the experiences that you had early on that really caused this sense of overwhelm to come into your life and where all this revelation began to come from.
Well, yes, I do have 3 children. I have all boys. Like I mentioned, I started the book some years ago before I actually published. So when I initially started, my children were young at the time. Right now, my oldest is 12, my middle child is 10, and my youngest just turned 7. I believe when I first started writing, maybe the kids were 5, 3, and newborn age, and or maybe I believe I started writing right before I actually delivered my 3rd son. But you know, it's the struggle of sometimes you feel as a woman you need to choose between it's either the family or either the career is going to be successful, that you can't have both of them. And so I dealt with trying to figure out how to do both of them successfully. I dealt with just feeling overwhelmed and not feeling like I knew how to manage my time, and that there just was not enough time in the day to be a good wife, to be a good mom, and to actually be successful in my profession as well.
Yeah, I believe there's a lot of pressure that a lot of us deal with as it relates to just wanting to be like this perfect person, this perfect, you want to be like this supermodel wife, right? And then you have the children, you want to be the nurturer, you want to be there for them, but then there's a desire inside to have this fabulous career and all the education that many of us receive. We want to put it to work, and so you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because how do you begin to divide yourself up into all these pieces? And so as you begin to walk through your story in the book, one of the things I really appreciate is you begin to specifically give some details, literally, of seasons in your life where you kind of document your schedule. And so I believe I know the reason why you did that, but kind of talk to us a little bit about why you kind of brought those details out, and why did you feel it was important to include that in the book?
Well, for myself, as I was writing these things, I kind of wrote them as being something therapeutic for myself. It was a way for me to release my own emotions. And I think a lot of times when we are dealing with trials and struggles, just those things that kind of come at us in life, we feel alone in our situation. We feel like we are the only ones that are experiencing this thing. And sometimes we begin to feel isolated and alone. So I chose this, share certain details of my experience because I wanted other women to recognize that this is not just you. This is something that we all share. And why not be an open book if it could help someone else?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I do believe that a lot of us experience that isolation, and we think like we're the only one dealing with this. We're the only one who has all these responsibilities and who's dealing with this overwhelm. And I believe that's a word that we really need to deal with a lot more as women. I believe we can get in a lot of overwhelm because of all the different responsibilities that we do have. Now, talk to me a little bit about what your breakthrough moment was. What do you think really began to help you not just endure, but overcome the season that you were in, where you were experiencing this overwhelm? You had all these responsibilities going on. What was the breakthrough for you?
I don't know if I can pinpoint an exact situation or an exact moment. As I look back on it and as I reflect on things, I realized that it was just a slow transition for myself. I realized that as I experienced certain situations, certain circumstances that I may have dealt with, each one of those things added a piece to who I grew into. And each thing that I experienced gave me a new perspective. So I feel like it was just a gradual process. It wasn't one moment or one thing or one event. I think each event that I experienced gave me something important to carry on so that I was successful in my journey and will be successful in the future.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It wasn't like there was this magic wand that was waved over you and all of a sudden everything was okay. You said that you grew into it. I think that's an important key thing that we all would want to remember when we're dealing with these overwhelming situations in our life, when we're going through transitions, is that sometimes it doesn't change overnight. You kind of have to walk through that process. And I believe that because you walked through the process, that actually helped you turn around and write about it. And now you're helping other women. Tell me a little bit about that. How is your story affecting other women, other people who are reading your book?
Well, the biggest testimony that I usually get is women coming to me with pretty much feeling like they're not alone. Like, oh my God, I can't believe how much our lives are similar. So I really enjoy women feeling like they're not alone. They're not in isolation. There's someone out there that they can talk to. There's someone out there who understands what they're going through. There's someone else out there that can help them along their journey as well. So I feel like those are the testimonies I get most often, as women are just saying how much they can relate to the circumstances, the situations that I have dealt with, and it mirrors pretty much their situation and their lives as well.
Absolutely. So now, do you find that you do come across women who are not just only feeling like, okay, I see what you've gone through and I've dealt with that, or I'm dealing with that, but what about this whole situation where there are those who are trying to balance family and marriage and even ministry? How have you been able to minister to these type of women, and how has putting God first in your work or career, how has that helped you to kind of have everything else kind of flow together? Talk to us a little bit about that, because I know some of that insight is in your book, and we want people to understand the value of getting this book and how much enrichment is there for them.
Well, as far as finding balance, I feel like balance is going to be different for each individual. And the great thing about the book is it breaks down at the end of each chapter words of wisdoms, key scriptures that can help you in your situation when you're trying to find that middle ground, or how to handle all the circumstances that may be coming at you at the same time. So I don't think that there's a magic key for finding balance, and it's different for each individual. And I feel like each individual that has read the book has come away with a different lesson, so to say. For myself, I feel like, acknowledging God and putting him first in my life keeps me humble. And it helps me to recognize that no matter where I am, how much I have, or how little I have, that I need him. I cannot go on without him. I can't make it without him. So I think that, for me, keeping him first is just about acknowledging that I cannot advance without him being ahead of my life.
Wonderful, wonderful. Is there any specific advice that you have for the career woman, someone who is heavily involved in their career, profession, but yet they find themselves as a mother, as a wife, they're in the midst of this juggle? What's like one major takeaway that you want to give to that one?
What I would say, the biggest thing is just to recognize what season it is for you. Sometimes I think we try to take on too much at one time. And it may not be that you cannot accomplish all those things on your wish list or on your to-do list. And it may not be that God is telling you, no, not ever, but he may be telling you, no, not now. So I think that it's important to recognize what season of life you are in. For instance, and I think I mentioned this in the book as well. If you are newly married, you're a new mom, you got 2 small kids at home, you have one on the way, this may not be the time for you to go back to school and pursue that career or that education that you want. That doesn't mean that may never come. It just means that it is not the season in your life to pursue that avenue. So I think the biggest advice that I could give to someone seeking advice as far as finding balance in their everyday life is just to recognize what season of life it is for you.
I think that's great advice. I know one of the things you mentioned in the book, that you were given some wisdom as it relates to your sons or your children. And the information that you received, or the wisdom, was that they'll never have this childhood again, but you can always pursue your career when they're older, when they're grown. And even though that sounds really simple in so many ways, but how often do we still get things out of whack, and we don't prioritize our lives like we should? And it's almost like we feel like we got to do it now. We got to be the superwoman, this Wonder Woman, this perfect woman, this career woman now, when the reality is that it's not always God saying, hey, no. It might be just him saying, wait, now is not the season, now is not the time. And I think that is some wonderful, absolutely wonderful advice. Tell us a little bit about some of the exposure that you had as a result of the book. I know that immediately when we were at the deadline for the launch, and the book was being launched, you had some speaking engagements and opportunities that became available that you had not had before, although you practiced in dentistry. Talk to us a little bit about that, and how that platform of speaking has caused you to grow.
Most of the opportunities I've had, I have just appreciated that it has given me the opportunity to share my story with other women. and at the end, being able to see how they receive the message and how much other people can relate and how much we all have in common. So basically, the book has just opened up the door for me to be able to share a piece of myself with others. And I'm actually enjoying that part. I'm enjoying the feedback. I'm enjoying seeing other people benefit from hearing my story. Knowing I was able to share something with someone else that is helping them to grow and to mature and to gain a new perspective on their own life. So I feel like that's the biggest thing that has happened for me with the book. I have definitely gotten a couple of speaking engagements, and I have enjoyed each and every one of them. I have enjoyed all the new people that I have met on the way. For me, I feel like I'm growing as far as being a person that is willing to be open and honest and to just share with other people for the benefit of someone else. So I'm enjoying the journey so far, and I look forward to everything else that's to come.
Yeah, I think that's a key part of writing a book, that vulnerability. And so sometimes authors are not willing to be vulnerable. And I think vulnerability is a really good thing. I just believe there needs to be responsibility as it relates to that vulnerability, because obviously we don't write books to expose other people or to shame or embarrass others or even ourselves. But we do write them, as you said earlier, there's a lot of comfort, a lot of comfort that comes to you personally as a result of writing the book. Now, tell me a little bit. We want to find out how we can get your book. So tell us how we can go and find out about your book, find out a little bit about you and your ministry, you and your husband. You are both in ministry as well as you are practice dentistry. Talk to us a little bit about that. How can we find out more about you, how we can support some of the efforts that you are engaged in, and how we can purchase your book?
Yes, definitely. Well, the book is available online at Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can check out my personal website, which is www.praise2017.com. You can email me at drlatisha1@gmail.com. And, I look forward to each and every correspondence. And, I look forward to the testimonies that come back from the readers. I have definitely gotten a lot of good feedback, even from others that are not married or are not necessarily mothers or not necessarily career women. So I have definitely enjoyed getting the feedback. So definitely go ahead and check out the website. Like I said, www.praise2017.com.
Awesome, awesome. So now you're a little shy about talking about some aspects of the book, it seems. So I want to talk to the audience a little bit about, because the book really blessed me, even as I begin to review it, as we prepare for the interview on tonight, Dr. LaTisha. I want you to know this was just a phenomenal work. And even some things you said about marriage. Let's talk about marriage and the family a little bit. And so one of the things you began to talk about is how communication and respect are key components to keeping your marriage together. I want you to talk to us a little bit about that. Define what communication and respect means to you, because sometimes we're this educated woman, as you are. We have this phenomenal career, as you have. We all know that having an earned doctorate degree especially, is a phenomenal feat in society. And you're this mother of these three beautiful, gorgeous young men. You have this beautiful home, all these wonderful things going for you. And I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, but how do you keep yourself humble, and how are you able to make sure that you have that level of communication and respect that is needed in your marriage?
Okay, you broke up just a little bit, but I know you asked me about defining communication and respect, so I'm gonna go ahead and start there. For myself, the biggest component to communication for me is listening. And I think most of us think of communication as us being the speaker. But in order to be a good communicator, you also have to be a good listener. And I can recall times when I was newly married, and if my husband and I would have a disagreement, I remember that I would never listen to his side or his point of view because I would be so busy while he was speaking, getting my thoughts together of how I was going to counteract whatever he said. And I realized that during those times and before I realized that I was not a good listener and that I needed to learn how to listen to his perspective and his side, I recognized that we always bumped heads or we never could find that common ground between each other because I was not taking the time to listen and to understand his point of view or his feelings or why he may have said or why he may have did what he did or why he didn't do what I thought he should have done. So I think one of the biggest components to communication is learning how to be a good listener.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. Go ahead. Preach to her, sister, because you know we, especially us career women who think we know it all, we have it all, so on and so forth. There's a degree of a humility that has to get in there and work on us so that we can humble ourselves and listen. So tell us a little bit more. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that was a lesson that took me many, many years to learn, but I definitely see the benefit of learning how to not be the one who's always speaking, but learning how to listen and acknowledge the other person's feelings, insight, perspective. As far as respect, for me, respect in a marriage pretty much means being willing to accept the other person's point of view or their perspective, because no two people are going to think alike all the time. There are going to be times that you are going to disagree or that you are going to see things from a different angle or a different point of view. And out of respect for my husband, I take the time to listen to his perspective and understand his perspective, and I'm willing to be flexible if need to be. I feel like at the end of the day, a marriage is not about me, it is about us. And if I keep my priority on him and he keeps his priority on me, we will always be successful in our marriage.
Yes, yes. I know I heard someone say many years ago, and I've held this dear to my heart, that if you're going to have a successful marriage, it's about good communication, it's about compromise and commitment. And exactly. I think that's an issue that we have, that a lot of people are not as committed as they should be to their marriages. The first sight of it not being happily ever after, they're ready to run. And so tell me a little bit about, what do you think caused you to stay during those early years when things were very rough, very overwhelming? Talk to us a little bit about that. I know sometimes when I interview authors, they're a little concerned about giving too much of the book away, but I promise you, this is going to really do good for our audience. So just go ahead, because I know that there's some people out there who really need to hear the wisdom that you have, Dr. LaTisha. And I see you as a minister to, it's not just marriages and young couples, but not just marriages and couples, but to young couples. I really feel that God is really calling you to really take that platform, because there's so much insight and experience along with wisdom that you can give. But talk to us about those early years. What made you stay?
Well, funny that you asked, because I mean, now that you're asking the question, I can definitely reflect back on some times that were very challenging for us as a couple. And you know what helped me to stay was having a good support system. And I feel like if I did not have people that were in our corner and that wanted to see us happy and to see us succeed and to see us have a happy and successful marriage, that we may not, or that I may not have persevere through those tough times. But I definitely think having a strong support system is key in having the strength to persevere through those times that are not so easy. So I would definitely suggest surrounding yourself with people that have your best interest at heart, that want to see you and your spouse succeed, and someone that you can vent to, and that you can trust that whatever you said in that time of frustration or that time of venting stays between you and that person, because we all need someone to talk to from time to time. So I definitely think having a strong support system is what has enabled us to remain strong as a couple.
Yes, I love it. Wonderful advice. So if you're married and you're trying to make your marriage work, why hang out with all the single girls who talk about all the married folks and who act as though their life is all this, all that, you know, bag of chips? And why would you do that? Hang out with those who can really minister to you and minister to your marriage, having that strong support system. So now, what about this? You mentioned this in the book, and there's a section where you really deal with this issue where you were just seeing everything that was wrong with your marriage. And I believe this is a common issue with women in general. It's almost like our husband can look like a knight in shining armor to someone else or another woman, but we see all the things that are wrong with him and all the things that are wrong with our lives. So what would you say to wives or women in general who have an issue with always seeing everything that's going on wrong in their life? I believe that's an issue that we don't readily recognize and admit. Talk to us a little bit about that.
First of all, I would say that those women definitely need to pick up a copy of the book. I think chapter 4, Ignite, is a good chapter that will help someone to gain a new perspective and to see things from a different angle. So that's what I would say to answer that question is we sometimes need to just gain a new perspective or a new outlook on how we see our life, how we see our circumstances, how we see our marriage, our children, and even our setbacks and our failures, because we can look at it as a loss or we can look at things as a learning experience. So I think my good advice would be just to gain a new perspective. And sometimes in order to do that, we need to just declutter and we need to prioritize some things in our lives. So yeah, read the book. Chapter 4, Ignite, is a good chapter for that.
I absolutely love that. You know, two of my favorite quotes are, failure is only feedback. And I just learned that maybe the last decade of my life. I'm like, I wish I knew this so early on, because I would not have had so many regrets, and I would not have treated failure or allowed failure to control my emotions and my life. But when I really begin to get that revelation that failure is feedback and it's a part of the growing process, that really began to be a blessing to came through here. But we're good. So yeah, that's one of the things I had to learn, that failure is feedback. Another one was by John Maxwell. He wrote the book, Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. And I thought that was just such a phenomenal statement, as well as a phenomenal book. And so in life, you know, especially as believers, we never lose. We're either winning or we're learning. And so when we can look at our lives and we can see the different issues and seasons of challenges that we go through, when we can look at our lives and we can have that type of viewpoint, we can get through those hard seasons, even those seasons where the enemy attacks us in our emotions as women. Now, one of the things I know that you began to talk about was this unhappy feeling. And so if we look at our world, if we look at our culture today, Dr. LaTisha, there are so many people that are committing suicide, people who we thought that were on top of the world, and they have what we call this success, or this definition of success, and all of a sudden they're not here anymore because they've taken their lives. And so I want to read something here because this is so phenomenal. So many wonderful parts in this book. But on page 55, you say this. You say, to those on the outside looking in, I have it all. And of course, this was years ago at the time you were dealing with this situation in your life. You say, I have it all, or so it appears. I have 3 beautiful, charming children who love their mommy dearly, and a loving, compassionate husband who adores me. I'm educated and successful. I live in my dream house, nestled on a quiet cul-de-sac and adorned by a circular drive with a spacious backyard for the kids to play. So why was I so unhappy? And I promise you, I'm sure that's the anthem of many what we would call successful people. Talk to us a little bit about that. What is the real definition of success?
You know, I don't know if I have the answer for the real definition of success. I do feel like success is going to look different from person to person. For myself, my success is me having my peace, me having my family, and everything just in perfect harmony, what's considered perfect harmony to me, and just being happy. Now, success to someone else may be having money, or I don't know what everyone else's definition of success is, but I think success could be a different definition for each one of us. And I do remember that passage that you're speaking about, and I actually remember when I wrote that down. And I do remember there were times where I wasn't happy and I had no idea why. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was just an unhappy person. I would look around and I would be like, man, well, I have all these things. Why am I not happy? But I wasn't. Something was missing. I feel like we are a very visual society. We all want that picture perfect look. So we spend a lot of time dressing up the outside. And I feel like I got caught in that cycle where I spent a lot of time dressing up the outside. I spent a lot of time feeding my flesh. I spent a lot of time making sure that my clothes were right, that my hair looked nice, that my makeup was good, that my kids were perfectly dressed, that they were matching, there were no stains on their clothes, that, you know, everything looked good or it appeared good when we walked out the house. But on the inside, I felt something was missing. And, you know, I realized I felt that because there was a void on the inside because I was not feeding my inner man. And that's what was missing. I was missing that relationship, that connection with God. And so I felt empty, and it didn't matter how many worldly things I had, how many nice possessions, how many purses, how many pairs of shoes, how big my house was. It was not making me feel complete or fulfilled on the inside. I still felt empty. So, you know, my advice for anybody dealing with that circumstance where you're feeling like you're empty or something's missing, there's nothing in this world that is going to fill that void. You need to fill yourself and feed yourself with the things of God. You need to acknowledge Him and as the head of your life and connect with Him and have a relationship with God to where you know Him as your personal Savior. So I feel like I, at one point, got caught in that trap of just feeding my flesh. When I recognized I was doing wrong, and when I changed my perspective, when I decided that I wanted to closely follow Christ and live in His will, is when I stepped out of that cycle. And I found my joy, I found my strength, I found my peace.
Wow, phenomenal. And we see so many people who are out there and they're living that life, but they're miserable. They're absolutely miserable. And so you and I know as believers that true joy and that fulfillment comes with that relationship with God. And so now we've written this book. I want you to go ahead, if you don't mind, for those who are just getting on, because we do have some people who just gotten on. Again, tell us how we can get your book. Tell us a little bit more about how we can connect with you so you can minister to those who are career women, and they can contact you if they have questions. I'm sure there's some questions that people may not feel comfortable with putting on social media, but they don't mind maybe inboxing you because they trust that you have the wisdom that they can take and use for their marriage.
Definitely. The book is available online at Amazon and at Barnes & Nobles. Also, you can purchase your copy at www.praise2017.com, which is my personal website. I am on Facebook. You can inbox me, Dr. LaTisha Glass. Also, you can email me at drlatisha1@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. I would love to help anyone that is looking for guidance, advice, or just someone to talk to. So, drlatisha1@gmail.com, www.praise2017.com.
Great job. So, Dr. LaTisha, are there any more books in the works?
That is a good question. I don't know. I get that question so much, and I definitely believe that there is at least one more. I don't know if I'm ready to disclose what direction I feel like I want to go with that one yet, but quite possibly.
All right, sounds great. So now talk to us a little bit about the process of having your book published. Did it help you having a book publishing coach? Tell us a little bit about that. You said it took about 5 years, I guess, to write the book, because really it was something you were doing for yourself. It's not like you decided, okay, I'm going to write this book and publish it, but you really were writing for yourself. So talk to us about from the time you started and actually getting it published and having the book in your hand, holding it, and it being available online.
I really am truly, truly happy that I found you in your services. I do think that it made the whole process very easy. It was definitely like a one-stop shop. I had someone to edit, to do my cover design, to do the layout, everything. So I definitely think it's very beneficial for me to have gone through your company. I had a very good experience, and I would definitely recommend the same process for others. I feel like from start to finish right now, I can't even remember the time frame offhand, but it really was not long at all. I feel like the process or the timing was more so according to when I was ready to move forward with the next step. I feel like you guys were always on top of the ball with the emails and sending me over things to proofread. And so it was a lot had to do with whatever timeline I wanted to be on, so to speak. So I think the process was very well laid out. It was easy. And I like convenience, so it was very convenient. And, I definitely would do the same process again.
So now there are those out there who may be contemplating writing a book. And this is what I want you to do. If you want to get some publishing resources, if you want to find out more information about how to publish a book, I have free resources. I have webinars. I have publishing email series. I have blueprints. Make sure you go to my website, KishKnows.com/publishing list. KishKnows.com/publishing list. I believe they're putting that up on the screen. And you can get those free resources. Now, Dr. LaTisha, tell us again how we can get your book. I know it's available online, but what about personalized copies? Are those still available with your signature?
Yes, every time someone orders from my website, praise2017.com, I sign the copy before I mail it out to them. So yes, personalized signed copies are still available.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we want to make sure you go ahead and do that now. I want you to run to her website. I want you to share this information. Now, this is what I want to also do too. I want you to begin to put your questions on the screen because we want to take a few questions from the audience as it pertains to marriage, the family, being a career woman, publishing a book, and just making it happen in general. So go ahead and put those questions on the screen. Now, Dr. LaTisha, are there any words that you want to share, words of wisdom that you want to share with our audience on the day? Anything that's been bubbling up in your spirit that you feel you want to express?
Just very briefly, during my journey, I struggled with appearances, so to speak, making sure it looked right to everyone else. And my best advice is just be your best you. There's not one other person on this earth that can be you. So be your best you, be comfortable in your own skin, and just do you.
That's wonderful. The reason why that is so profound is because of this social media world that we live in, which I love social media. We're here on social media tonight. I use it for my business. I use it for ministry. I use it to glorify God. But with that, it can be a tool and an instrument that the enemy can use as well. And oftentimes, if we're not careful, we can begin to see the lives of other people, or what appears to be the lives of other people, the wonderful lives of other people. And that can take our joy. That can steal our joy. And that's how unhappiness can creep in as well. There's a quote that says something along the lines of comparison is the thief of all joy. I think it kind of goes a little bit like that. And so oftentimes, we can be happy in what we have until we see what the next person has, or what it appears that the next person has. And sometimes we get this image that's painted in the social media world, and that can cause your joy to be stolen from you if you're not careful. And so I love it what she just said, to be the best you that you can be. And I believe that's the only thing we can really offer in life, is to be the best version of who God has called us to be. And with that, there's that fulfillment, there's that joy. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so I see one of our other phenomenal authors that's on, Minister Lakia Kelly. Thank you so much. I see you on, and I think I saw some others that were on earlier. I saw Denise Francis. I'm not for sure if she's still on. But thank you all so much for joining us on tonight. And we look forward to these weekly empowerment times and sessions and calls, and where we can come and just really talk to our new authors. And I'm so glad again that we were able to get Dr. LaTisha on our schedule. And we have every week for months to the end of the year practically, where we can schedule one of our new authors to come on. But tonight has been about marriage and the family, and being this career woman who's trying to balance everything. And we see now really that the best thing you can do is to put God first and to be the best version of you. And there's no such thing as perfection, at least on this side of heaven. Amen. So I see some wonderful comments coming here. We have Michael Glass. Looks like that would be your husband. That Dr. Michael Glass. Thank you so much for being on. And there's Minister Lakia Kelly. She's giving another shout out. And there she is. There's Denise Hicks Franks. Denise is out of New York, and I am so looking forward to her wonderful story that we're going to be sharing in about a week or two here. So I'm excited about that. Mildred, I know Mildred is from the Chicagoland area. She said, excellent session. Congrats. So she's congratulating you. You guys, make sure you go right now. Go to praise2017.com and order Dr. LaTisha's book. Find out more about her ministry. Inbox her if there's some questions maybe that you have that you're a little hesitant about putting out here on social media. I get it. Go ahead and inbox her and talk to her that way. Listen, we have here Denise Forrest Griffin. She says, thank you, Dr. LaTisha Glass. You really encouraged me tonight. We have
Thank you.
Rebecca. Yeah, do you know her?
Yes, I do. Thanks for tuning in tonight.
Yes. Yes, look, we got so many comments coming in. We're trying to keep up with them. Rebecca Lewis Bowden said, this was awesome. This was awesome, Dr. LaTisha. And listen, Minister Lakia Kelly said, Dr. LaTisha, you are glowing. Awesome book, too. And she should know because I'm sure she's read it. She's one of your fans, and she has an awesome book. And Lakia, we're going to have to get you on again and do a follow-up. I know we had quite a few complications with technology, but I want to reschedule you. It probably have to be some months out, but we want to get you back in here. Here's Lenora Sutton. Lenora says, congratulations, Dr. LaTisha, and blessings to you. All right, and so Denise Forrest Griffin, here's one of your fans here, or one of your followers. She says, it's an awesome book. I truly enjoyed it. Robert Lewis says, to God be the glory. So many wonderful comments. I can barely keep up with them, Dr. LaTisha, but we're not going to belabor the time. I want you again, if you're interested in publishing a book, you need some publishing resources, you're ready to tell your story, we can help you tell your story. We can show you how to be vulnerable but yet responsible in the telling of your story. We can help you get a quality, attractive, professional book out there. And so if you're interested in that, make sure you sign up for our publishing list. You can go to KishKnows.com/publishing list. There are a lot of free resources that are connected to you opting into that email. So make sure you do that. Hey, Dr. LaTisha, tell us a little bit about those wonderful boys. What are they doing? What are they up to? And how are they keeping you busy these days before we get ready to sign off here in just a few moments?
Oh my goodness, they are just growing up so quickly. So my advice to those new moms out there that might be feeling overwhelmed, I say to cherish the moment because they are going to be growing so quickly and developing their own personalities, and they will be turning into teenagers and young men and women before you know it. So just cherish the moment. Yes, because my boys are just growing so quickly. So I am just trying to push pause for a second.
Push pause. Is that even possible? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so thank you again for spending time with us. And one more time, I got to have you give us that information. How can they get in contact with you? Order the book. Tell us where it's available at. Go ahead, promote it.
Definitely. One more time, you can inbox me on Facebook at Dr. LaTisha Glass. You can email me, drlatisha1@gmail.com. Visit my website, praise2017.com, and get your autographed copy. Or you can check out Amazon or Barnes & Noble. So just purchase your copy today. You won't regret it. It will definitely be a blessing to you.
Yes, yes. Yes, it will be a blessing. So make sure you order your copy. And this is what I tell people. Don't just order one. I know you know other people that need this book. So order 2, order 3. Use these as Christmas presents. Something that will be of value and a tremendous asset to someone. And remember this, one thing I love about books. If you give somebody a business card or a flyer, that'll eventually end up in the garbage. But no one throws away books. They're with us forever, even if they're not on the shelf or in the closet somewhere. They're in a box in the basement. Look, we really don't get rid of books. So this is an awesome legacy that'll be here even 75 years after you passed on. Your children's children's children will be able to benefit from the blessing that your book has been to so many, and it still will continue to be a blessing. So I thank you all for coming on tonight. Look, we got some other people still congratulating you. I'm telling you, so many people are chiming in, Dr. LaTisha. We can't keep up with it. But we're going to go ahead and end this tonight. I want to once again invite you to go ahead and sign up for our list, KishKnows.com/publishing list. We have some great information on resources that will get to you that are free and that are available for you to help you write your book, to give you insight about the publishing process. We got a lot of great links, webinars, blueprints that you can utilize. So make sure you go and you check that out and sign up for the list. And until next time, Dr. LaTisha, we hope you come back on later in the future and you're telling us some more exciting things about what's going on in your life. Maybe by then we'll have insight into what that new book is all about.
Definitely.
We're looking forward to more of what you have to offer. So listen, thank you all so much for tuning in. I believe we have another interview coming up next week, every week for the next couple of months. I know we're booked solid, so make sure you're on our list and you get the notices. And until next time, I appreciate you being with us on tonight. I appreciate you taking the time to stay and to communicate and make these comments, and we really appreciate all of what you brought to tonight. Those of you all who got on, who shared and commented, thank you so much. So this has been Pastor Kisia Coleman, again with your book publishing empowerment interview. Thank you so much for being a part of this series, and until I see you again, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Bye for now. Everyone have a great evening.